Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. Took me a while to get into this book, but this is off of the suggested list from a good friend of mine. And the book is Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. It's an interesting concept, and I usually like stories when the author finds a moment in history that is decently significant and then adds the kind of in between that isn't really there, and makes a story out of it. And I feel like this story is definitely one of those. In fact, the author says that it's one of those. But it took me forever to get into it. It took several weeks, and the story is about a girl named Esme, or Esme, as one of the characters calls her, and she works at what is called the scriptorium, helping to develop and find words that would eventually go into the Oxford English Dictionary. And it starts when she's a child. Her father works for, I believe his name is Dr. Murray, who is one of the editors of creating the dictionary. And that is a real person. And in their work, Esme spends a lot of time kind of crawling around under the tables and just kind of sitting there and being a general child for most of her childhood. And she picks up words that people have dropped, whether they meant to or not. And she kind of hides them away in the servant's trunk, the family servant's trunk. And over the years, instead of her picking them up off the floor at the scriptorium, she starts going around town and talking to different people. And when they give her a word that she's like not heard of, and she's like, I'm pretty sure that's not in the dictionary, she writes it down, and she writes down the quote from a person who said it, which is how the Oxford English Dictionary came about. Is it was originally a lot of quotes from people or books or newspapers or whatever, to help define the word using context clues and everything. And so I think that concept is really interesting. I'm not a big word person. I don't like using large vocabulary. I have a decent vocabulary, but I don't like using big words for the sake of using big words, as some people do. And so that was kind of the hard part of the book, is like reading and being like, okay, I gotta think about what that word means, use the context clues, use things that a lot of kids were not taught in modern day, depending on where they went to school. Kids, as many of you know, I teach middle school, and leading up to middle school, kids don't have this huge, robust vocabulary anymore. And so it's just kind of weird to me. And so when I say use your context clues, a lot of kids have no idea what a context clue is, no idea how to use it. Whereas, in the past, that's how we learned. You could read something and not know exactly what the whole thing is about, but using context clues, using words around it, you would figure it out. And so that's really what the whole story is about. I really liked the way that the author wove real history into the story, talking about the women's movement, talking about eventually the onset of World War One, and just other events. But I do feel like it wasn't a cohesive story. So the story starts in, I think, like 1887 or something like that, and it goes like in chunks of months. So each chapter is a new month or a series of months in the year. Sometimes it jumps to the next year within one chapter, which is a perfectly fine way to write a book. But it left like all these like spaces, and I felt like the author was trying to write multiple, like almost like a serial story, like a story that is easily transferred to the screen, where you don't have to necessarily fill in all these gaps, and screenwriters wouldn't have to, add scenes or anything. The scenes are there, or at least partially set there. And it just wasn't well done, though. Like there's definitely a difference when you read a book and you're like, this should be on screen, versus you read a book and you're like, I don't know where the author was going. And that's where I felt, or that's what I felt, especially getting towards the end of the book. Overall, I mean, it's just not a happy ending. Not to add spoilers necessary, but it is not a happy ending. Like, she has, the main character has a decently good life. She has some challenges, but then like at the end, it just stinks. So yeah, like overall, I gave it a 3. Writing wise, I thought it was fine. It just wasn't perfect for me. And again, because it took me forever to get into it. At the end of the book, it was a little easier for me to just crank through and read it. But like at the beginning, it just like I would read a chapter and put it down, read a chapter, put it down. It was not one that just easily came to me in terms of reading. So there you have it. Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip William, 3 out of 5 on my scale. It just not my favorite. And my friend who suggested it, I had to go back and think about it too when I asked her about it. And she was like, I don't remember what happened, which tells you not a memorable book. But there you have it. So thank you as always for watching the book reviews. Hope everyone is enjoying their summer break. For those of us that have summer breaks, if you don't have a summer break, hopefully you're taking a summer trip, or spending at least a little bit of time with friends and family and relaxing now that the weather is warmer, and we can be outside a little bit. I'm sure it's going to get hot in a few weeks, but I really hope everyone is out there enjoying it, especially you teachers. And I look forward to seeing you in the next book review. Bye.